Chosen one, this is about you. Before you scroll, before you dismiss this as just another video, feel what just happened inside your chest. That pause, that pull, that quiet jolt of recognition. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is God's message, arriving in precise divine alignment, meeting you at the exact moment your spirit was ready to receive it. You did not find this by accident. You were guided here, and if you stay until the end, you will understand why. Nothing in the universe moves without purpose. Not the timing of this message, not the season you are in, not the restless feeling that something bigger is unfolding in your life. You have sensed it for months, maybe even years. A shift, a quiet but undeniable transformation. Your spiritual awakening has already begun, even if you did not have language for it yet. And what you are about to hear will confirm what your soul has been trying to tell you in silence. This video is about why people react differently to you, and what that truly means about your calling. You have felt the difference. The way you no longer fit into spaces that once felt normal. The way conversations feel shallow when your spirit craves depth. The way you observe more than you speak. The way your presence alone seems to change the atmosphere of a room. When you walk in, something shifts. Conversations slow, eyes linger a little longer than usual. Some people grow quiet, others become strangely animated. The energy either tightens or softens, and you feel it. Sometimes you feel watched without knowing why. Sometimes misunderstood without saying much at all. Sometimes you sense that people are reacting to something deeper than your words. Something beneath the surface that you cannot fully explain. You may have questioned yourself. You may have wondered if you were overthinking, if you were imagining the tension, if you were just too sensitive. You are not imagining it. This is a chosen one sign. There is a reason your presence stirs reactions. There is a reason you feel different. There is a reason you cannot shrink back into who you used to be. And in this message, you will finally understand the spiritual mechanics behind it. You will see clearly why your energy unsettles some, comforts others, and exposes many. You will understand why isolation often comes before alignment, and you will realize that what you thought was social awkwardness was actually spiritual activation. This is not ego. This is assignment. The world is shifting. The war between awakening and distraction is real. And those who carry light feel it first. If you have been sensing that you are being positioned for something greater, that you are being refined in ways others cannot see, that your life is moving in a direction you cannot fully explain, stay with me. Because once you understand why they react the way they do, you will stop shrinking, you will stop apologizing, you will stop doubting the calling on your life, and you will finally stand in your light without fear. When your spiritual awakening begins, your frequency changes before your circumstances do. You may look the same, you may speak the same, but internally something has shifted, and that shift radiates. High vibrational energy does not need to announce itself. It simply exists, and existence alone creates reaction. People respond to you not because you are strange, but because your energy activates something within them. Some feel comfort. Some feel discomfort, some feel curiosity, some feel exposed, but they feel something, and that something is not about your personality, it is about your presence. There is a spiritual law at work here. Light reveals, it does not force, it does not attack, it does not argue, it simply shines. When you carry high vibrational energy, when you are stepping into your divine calling, your presence becomes illumination. Those who are aligned feel drawn closer. Those who are hiding feel unsettled. Those who are searching feel hope. Those who are resisting feel irritation. This is not coincidence. This is frequency meeting frequency. You were called before you understood you were called. Long before you named it a spiritual awakening, you felt different. You felt depth in a shallow world. You felt sensitivity in loud environments. You felt like you were observing more than participating. That was not weakness. That was preparation. God does not choose randomly. The calling comes with refinement. The isolation, the confusion, the intensity, all of it was shaping you to carry what you now carry. If this resonates in your spirit, if something inside you is saying this is truth, then stand in that acknowledgement. Comment 77.7 if you feel aligned with this divine calling, not for validation, not for performance, but as a declaration that you recognize the shift within yourself. Here is the core truth you must anchor into your spirit. People react strangely to you, not because you are strange. They react because your high vibrational energy activates what is dormant, hidden, or unresolved inside them. Your calm exposes chaos. Your clarity exposes confusion. Your authenticity exposes performance, and exposure creates reaction. I speak to you with calm authority because this path is not theory to me. I have walked through rooms and felt the shift. I have questioned myself before I understood the spiritual mechanics behind it. I have mistaken activation for rejection and intensity for isolation. But once you see clearly, you stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for your presence. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. This is not ego. This is alignment. This is not superiority. This is assignment. There is a war happening, even if it is invisible. A war between awakening and distraction, between light and denial, between truth and illusion. And your light is necessary in this time. The tension you feel when you enter certain spaces is not random tension. It is spiritual contrast. It is the friction between frequencies. Tonight, you will understand exactly why your presence unsettles some, attracts others, and exposes many. Circle back to where we began. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shift. You are not overthinking the reactions. You are called. The war is real. Your light is necessary. If this touched your soul, if something inside you ignited with recognition, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. Your energy speaks before you do. Chosen one. Understand this clearly. Energy precedes language. Before you say a single word, before you introduce yourself, before you even make eye contact, something in the room has already registered you. The human nervous system is designed to read frequency faster than thought. In seconds, people sense safety, threat, confidence, insecurity, alignment, or chaos. They may not consciously know what they are feeling, but their body knows, their spirit knows. And when you walk into a space carrying the frequency of spiritual awakening, it is felt immediately. You are energy sensitive. You always have been. You notice subtle tone shifts. You feel when a conversation changes. You can sense tension under smiles and sincerity beneath silence. That sensitivity is not random. It is refinement. It is one of the strongest chosen one signs. But what you must also understand is that others are sensitive too, even if they are unaware of it. Just as you read energy, they read yours, and your high vibrational energy speaks long before your mouth does. When someone's nervous system encounters your frequency, it reacts not because you are trying to influence them, not because you are performing, but because alignment carries weight. Your spiritual awakening has regulated parts of you that many people are still wrestling with internally. And when regulated energy meets unregulated energy, there is a response. One reaction you may notice is sudden silence when you enter a room. Conversations pause, laughter softens, someone clears their throat and shifts topics. It can feel uncomfortable at first, like you have disrupted something. But look deeper. Silence is awareness rising. Your presence increases consciousness in the space. People become more aware of what they are saying and how they are behaving. Your frequency raises the atmosphere, and low-level chatter suddenly feels exposed under it. That is not intimidation. That is illumination. Another reaction is nervous laughter or over-talking. Some individuals begin speaking rapidly, they joke excessively, they fill every gap in the conversation as if silence itself is dangerous. This is not because you are threatening, it is because your calm highlights their internal noise. Your grounded presence contrasts their inner instability. When someone feels that contrast, their nervous system may attempt to compensate by creating sound, humor, or distraction. It is a subconscious effort to regulate themselves in the presence of your stability. Then there is the third reaction, and it is beautiful. Instant admiration or deep comfort. Some people relax immediately when you are near. Their shoulders drop, their breathing slows. They open up within minutes. They feel seen without being judged. They feel understood without explaining themselves fully. This happens because your nervous system carries regulation. Spiritual awakening refines you. It forces you to confront fear, ego, trauma, and illusion. And when you survive that process, your presence becomes sanctuary. Those who are tired of pretending recognize safety in you. All three reactions come from the same source. High vibrational energy disrupts low-frequency patterns. Your aura confronts what others hide, not aggressively but naturally. Light does not argue with darkness. It reveals it. When you carry clarity, confusion becomes visible. When you carry peace, chaos becomes obvious. When you carry authenticity, performance feels heavy. That contrast is what people are reacting to. But anchor this in grounded truth. You do not need to try to be powerful. You do not need to posture, dominate, or impress. Presence alone is power. You are not commanding rooms through force. You are influencing them through alignment. That is why this is one of the strongest chosen one signs. Impact without effort, influence without intention, reaction without performance. You may have doubted yourself. You may have wondered if you were imagining the shift. Let me circle you back to the beginning. This is a message from God. You are not imagining it. You were called. The war is real. It is a war between distraction and awakening, between shadow and light, and your light is necessary in this time. When rooms shift around you, it is not coincidence. When people react before you speak, it is not social anxiety. It is spiritual contrast. It is frequency meeting frequency. And you are carrying a frequency that activates, unsettles, heals, and exposes all at once. Do not shrink from it. Do not question it. Stand in it. If this touched your soul, if something inside you ignited with recognition, comment 111, because you know it, you were called. Your light exposes shadows, chosen one. Now we move deeper into the spiritual mechanics of what is happening around you. This is not surface-level personality conflict. This is not random social tension. There is something far more profound occurring when your presence shifts a room. When someone carries unresolved pain, insecurity, jealousy, shame, or suppressed truth, the presence of a person walking consciously through spiritual awakening acts like light entering a dark room. And light does not attack darkness, it simply reveals it. Imagine sitting in a room with the curtains drawn for years. You grow used to the dimness. You convince yourself that this is normal. You learn to navigate around the furniture without bumping into it. Then one day someone opens the window. The light floods in. Dust becomes visible. Corners you ignored are suddenly illuminated. Nothing violent happened. Nothing aggressive occurred. The light simply revealed what was already there. That is what your high vibrational energy does in spaces where shadows have grown comfortable. Some people feel inspired around you. They sense possibility. Your clarity shows them what healing looks like. Your calm shows them what stability feels like. Your courage to confront yourself gives them permission to consider confronting themselves. These are the ones who lean closer. They ask questions. They feel hope rising quietly in their chest. They may not have the language for it, but something inside them recognizes alignment. Others feel irritated, not because you have wronged them, not because you have attacked them, but because your presence makes their avoidance harder to maintain. If they are lying to themselves, your authenticity feels confronting. If they are suppressing truth, your transparency feels disruptive. If they are living in quiet insecurity, your grounded confidence feels uncomfortable. Again, light does not attack darkness, it simply reveals it, and revelation can feel like exposure to someone who is not ready to look inward. Then there are those who feel exposed. They grow defensive without clear cause. They misinterpret your silence as judgment. They label your boundaries as arrogance. They project motives onto you that do not exist. This is not about ego, it is about frequency contrast. When two energies operate at different levels of awareness, the difference is felt, and that feeling can be unsettling. Projection is one of the most common responses to frequency contrast. When someone criticizes you without reason, when they seem threatened by your growth, when they accuse you of thinking you are better than them despite your humility, it is often their shadow reacting to your clarity. Instead of turning inward and asking why your presence makes them uncomfortable, they redirect that discomfort outward. They place it on you. It is easier to say you are the problem than to confront their own unresolved wounds. But hear me clearly. Do not judge them. Compassion must anchor you here. Everyone is walking through their own timeline of awakening. Some are at the beginning. Some are resisting entirely. Some are terrified of what they would have to release if they truly looked at themselves. Awareness is your responsibility, not correction. You are not called to fix every shadow your light reveals. You are called to remain aligned. There is a spiritual maturity in observing without absorbing. When someone reacts from insecurity, you do not need to retaliate. When someone projects jealousy, you do not need to defend. When someone feels exposed, you do not need to dim your light to comfort their avoidance. Your task is not to argue with darkness. Your task is to continue shining. Circle back to where we began. This is a message from God. You are not imagining these reactions. You are not overanalyzing the tension. You were called. The war is real. It is a war between truth and illusion, between awakening and denial, and your light is necessary in this hour. If rooms shift around you, it is because something in you has already shifted within. Do not shrink. Do not apologize for the revelation your presence brings. The discomfort others feel is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that something unseen has become visible, and visibility is the first step toward transformation. But understand this, there is a second layer to this dynamic, and this one is subtle. It moves beneath the surface, quieter than projection, deeper than irritation. And once you see it, you will understand even more clearly why your presence is not random, why your reactions are not imagined, and why your calling carries weight. If this touched your soul, comment 11:1, because you know it, you were called. High vibrational energy disrupts control. Chosen one. There is another reason people react strangely to your presence, and it moves beneath the surface of ordinary interaction. When someone operates through manipulation, dominance, or subtle control, they rely on reading weaknesses. They rely on emotional predictability. They study reactions. They test boundaries. They pull strings gently to see who will move. But when you are aligned with divine calling, when your spiritual awakening has strengthened your discernment, you are no longer easily moved by invisible hands, and that destabilizes them. You feel energy shifts instantly. Before a manipulative comment fully lands, you sense the intention beneath it. Before guilt is fully applied, you recognize the undertone. Before someone attempts to dominate a conversation, you notice the imbalance in their tone. This is not paranoia. It is sensitivity refined by experience. You have walked through enough darkness to recognize its texture, and because of that awareness, you do not react the way insecure individuals expect you to react. Control requires predictability. If someone knows how to provoke you, they can steer you. If they know how to flatter you, they can guide you. If they know how to trigger your fear of rejection, they can keep you attached. But awakened souls are sovereign. You are not easily baited. You are not easily flattered into submission. You are not easily intimidated into silence. Your responses come from discernment, not desperation, and sovereignty feels threatening to those who depend on control to feel powerful. Your calm presence is especially destabilizing to those who rely on chaos. Some people create tension intentionally because tension gives them leverage. They stir confusion because confusion makes others easier to influence. They raise their voice because volume can overpower clarity. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to escalate, when you respond instead of react, their strategy collapses. They cannot climb over a wall that does not crumble. Spiritual awakening creates internal authority. It is not loud, it does not boast, it does not need applause, it is quiet and steady. It is the deep knowing that you answer to something higher than human approval. That authority radiates outward. You do not have to announce it. It shows in your boundaries. It shows in your refusal to participate in manipulation. It shows in your ability to walk away without drama. And because you cannot be easily manipulated, insecure individuals feel exposed around you. They may call you distant. They may label you intimidating. They may accuse you of thinking you are superior. But hear this clearly. You are not arrogant. You are anchored. There is a difference. Arrogance inflates itself to hide insecurity. Anchoring comes from inner alignment. Arrogance demands attention. Anchoring does not need it. When someone accustomed to control encounters someone who cannot be controlled, they feel powerless, and powerlessness often disguises itself as irritation or hostility. They may attempt to provoke you further. They may test you more intensely. They may withdraw suddenly when they realize their influence is ineffective. None of this is random. It is the friction between manipulation and sovereignty. Circle back to where we began. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the tension you feel in certain dynamics. You were called. The war is real. It is a war between domination and freedom, between insecurity and alignment, between fear and faith. And your light is necessary because it models something rare. It models self-governance rooted in higher truth. Do not dim yourself to make controlling spirits comfortable. Do not soften your boundaries to avoid being labeled strong. Your strength is not aggression, it is alignment. Your stillness is not indifference, it is discipline. When you refuse to engage in emotional games, you are not cold, you are clear. Remember this with spiritual fire in your chest. Your divine calling requires sovereignty. You cannot fulfill an assignment from God while being steered by fear or manipulated by insecurity. The reactions you receive are not proof that you are wrong. They are evidence that you are no longer accessible to chaos. But understand this as well. Not every strange reaction is negative. Not every shift in energy signals resistance. There is another side to your presence, one that brings relief instead of tension, one that brings safety instead of defensiveness, and you must see that side clearly too. If this touched your soul, if you felt recognition rising within you, comment 1111. Because you know it, you were called. Why some feel instantly safe with you. Chosen one, soften your spirit for a moment and feel this truth gently. Not every reaction to your presence is tension. Not every shift in a room is resistance. There is another side to your high vibrational energy, and it is tender, it is warm, it is sacred. Your presence does not only expose shadows, it also creates sanctuary. And there are souls who recognize that immediately. People who are tired of pretending feel relief when you enter their space. They may not understand why, they may not have language for it, but something inside them exhales. Around you, they do not feel pressured to perform. They do not feel forced to exaggerate their confidence or hide their vulnerability. Your authenticity gives them silent permission to drop their mask. That relief is not random, it is recognition. Children and animals often respond first. Watch closely and you will see it. A child who barely speaks to strangers may look at you with curiosity instead of fear. An animal may approach you without hesitation. These beings respond purely to energy. They do not calculate status. They do not analyze reputation. They feel safety or they feel threat. And when they sense regulation in your nervous system, they move toward it naturally. Emotionally exhausted people open up to you quickly. Sometimes within minutes of meeting you, they share pieces of their story they have not shared with others. They speak of burdens they have carried quietly. They reveal fears they usually hide. You may wonder why they feel so comfortable. It is because your presence communicates steadiness. There is something about you that feels grounded, something that feels non-judgmental and strong at the same time. Spiritually, this happens because your nervous system is regulated, and it is regulated because you have been tested. You have walked through storms that forced you to confront your own fear. You have faced betrayal, disappointment, confusion, and silence. You have wrestled with yourself in the dark and emerged with clarity. That process refined you. It did not harden you, it strengthened you, and strength that is not defensive becomes safety for others. Regulation transmits safety without effort. When you are not constantly scanning for approval, when you are not reacting impulsively to every shift, when you are anchored in something deeper than ego, others feel it, their bodies respond, their guard lowers. They sense that you are not trying to dominate them or impress them, you are simply present, and presence is rare. Tie this back to where we began. This is a message from God. You were not refined through trials for no reason. You were shaped to carry stability into chaotic spaces. Your divine calling includes being a stabilizing force. When tension rises, your calm steadies the atmosphere. When fear spreads, your grounded energy interrupts it. When confusion thickens, your clarity cuts through it. The war is real. It is a war of nervous systems, of fear versus faith, of chaos versus alignment. And your light is necessary because it models regulation in a dysregulated world. You do not shout your power, you embody it. You do not force healing. You create conditions where healing feels possible. But listen carefully, because this warmth carries responsibility. Sanctuary without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice. If you are not careful, you will begin absorbing what was never yours to carry. Just because people feel safe with you does not mean you must hold every burden they release. Just because you can stabilize a room does not mean you must remain in spaces that drain you. You were called, but you were not called to exhaustion. You were refined, but not to be consumed. Your light is necessary, but it must be protected. Remember the beginning. You are not imagining these reactions. You were chosen, you were shaped, you were prepared. And preparation includes learning when to give and when to step back. Let this truth ignite something steady inside you. You are a sanctuary, but you are also a guardian of your own peace. If this touched your soul, if you feel the recognition deep within your chest, comment E11, because you know it, you were called. Energy sensitivity requires protection. Chosen one, listen carefully and receive this firmly. Being called does not mean being consumed. Being spiritually aware does not mean absorbing everyone's emotional debris. Just because you can feel what others carry does not mean it is yours to carry. Sensitivity is a gift, but without protection it becomes exhaustion, and exhaustion will dim the very light you were chosen to sustain. You have likely overextended empathy before. You have stayed longer than you should have in draining conversations. You have tried to stabilize people who were unwilling to stabilize themselves. You have absorbed tension in rooms and later wondered why you felt heavy for no visible reason. That heaviness is not weakness. It is the consequence of unguarded openness. There is a danger in confusing compassion with self-sacrifice. Empathy without boundaries invites depletion. When you continuously take in the emotions, projections, and chaos of others, your system becomes overloaded. You start questioning your clarity. You feel tired without physical cause. You feel irritated and cannot trace the source. That is what happens when a chosen one forgets to protect their energy. Spiritual boundaries are not walls of bitterness. They are gates of discernment. You decide what enters and what does not. You decide who receives access and who does not. You decide how much of yourself is shared and how much is reserved. This is not selfishness, it is stewardship. Observe reactions without internalizing them. When someone grows tense around you, do not immediately assume you did something wrong. When someone projects insecurity onto you, do not rush to defend yourself. Let the reaction belong to the one reacting. You can witness without absorbing. You can understand without carrying. Silence is strength. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires clarification. When you are aligned internally, silence speaks louder than argument. It communicates certainty. It communicates self-trust. Those who seek to pull you into emotional turbulence often depend on your reaction. When you remain steady, their attempt collapses. Distance is not cruelty. Sometimes the most loving decision you can make for yourself is to step back. You are not required to maintain proximity to chaos to prove your compassion. Part of divine calling is discernment. You must know when to engage and when to withdraw. You must recognize when your presence is creating transformation and when it is simply being drained. Limit access to your time. Not everyone deserves unlimited conversation, unlimited explanation, unlimited availability. Protect your peace intentionally. Create spaces where your nervous system can reset. Spend time in environments that replenish you rather than deplete you. Refuse to explain your depth to those committed to misunderstanding it. Some people do not misunderstand because they lack clarity. They misunderstand because clarity threatens their narrative. Circle back to the beginning. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the weight you sometimes feel. You were called, but calling does not mean chaos. The war is real. It is a war over your focus, your energy, your emotional stability, and your light is necessary. But necessary light must be protected light. Do not romanticize burnout. Do not glorify constant availability. You were not chosen to be consumed. You were chosen to remain aligned. Protection is not fear. It is wisdom. Boundaries are not rejection. They are refinement. Feel the spiritual fire in this truth. You are allowed to guard what God refined. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to withdraw without explanation. You are allowed to protect your nervous system as fiercely as you protect others. Now we arrive at the deeper truth. If this touched your soul, if you feel the weight of recognition and strength rising together, comment 111 because you know it. You were called. You trigger awakening in others. Chosen one, we now move into a higher layer of understanding. There is something even deeper happening when people react to your presence. Sometimes the tension, the silence, the sudden distance, or even the admiration is not about who you are alone, it is about who they are becoming. Your presence activates dormant spiritual awakening in others. You are not only light in a room, you are a mirror of potential. When someone feels unsettled around you, it may not be because you threaten them. It may be because you remind them. You remind them of the version of themselves they buried. You remind them of dreams they silenced. You remind them of truth they postponed confronting. And when that reminder rises unexpectedly, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like pressure. It can feel like fear. Awakening does not begin as comfort. It begins as disruption. It begins as restlessness. It begins as the uncomfortable awareness that the life you have been tolerating is not the life you were designed for. So when your peace enters their space, it highlights their lack of peace. When your clarity enters their awareness, it illuminates their confusion. When your courage to evolve stands in front of them, it challenges their attachment to familiarity. You are a mirror, not a judge, not a critic, a mirror, and mirrors do not create flaws. They reveal what is already present. Some people will look into that mirror and feel inspired. They will see what is possible for themselves. They will recognize that if you can walk through spiritual awakening and survive the shedding, perhaps they can too. These are the ones who feel hope rising around you. But others will look into that same mirror and feel fear, because awakening feels like loss before it feels like expansion. It feels like losing old identities. It feels like losing certain relationships. It feels like losing comfort and predictability. Growth requires surrender, and surrender terrifies the ego. So when your presence stirs that process inside someone who is not ready, their reaction may come out sideways: irritation, withdrawal, criticism, distance. This is why chosen one signs often include social isolation before alignment. When your frequency begins to shift, you naturally outgrow certain environments. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Dynamics that once felt normal now feel draining. You are not being rejected randomly. You are being refined intentionally. Alignment requires space. Growth requires separation from what no longer matches your frequency. Loneliness in this season is not abandonment, it is refinement. It is the quiet room where God reshapes your identity without outside interference. It is the pruning that prepares you for deeper connection later. When people fall away, it is not always punishment. Sometimes it is positioning. Circle back to the beginning. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the shifts in your relationships. You are not overthinking the strange reactions. You are called, and calling carries consequence. The war is real. It is the battle between staying asleep and waking up. And when your presence begins to stir that battle in others, their reaction is part of the process. Do not dim your peace to keep others comfortable in their unrest. Do not silence your growth to avoid triggering someone else's awakening. Your light is necessary. It does not only expose darkness, it ignites potential, it awakens sleeping spirits, it confronts complacency. Feel the spiritual fire in this truth. You are catalytic, you shift atmospheres, you stir introspection, you activate questions in people who have avoided questioning their lives for years. That is not accidental, that is assignment. There is nothing accidental about your presence. You are placed where you are for a reason. The reactions you receive are not random, they are ripples of awakening, moving through spaces that were once stagnant. Stand in that understanding with strength. You are not too much, you are not imagining it, you are not out of place, you were called. If this touched your soul, comment 111, because you know it, you were called. Stand unapologetically in your light, chosen one. We return now to you. Not the reactions, not the tension, not the misunderstandings. You are not too intense. You are not too quiet. You are not too different. The world may have tried to label your depth as excess and your silence as distance, but your high vibrational energy is intentional. It was designed, it was refined, it was assigned. From the beginning of this message, one truth has echoed beneath every word. This is not coincidence. This is God's message arriving in divine alignment. You did not stumble into this awareness randomly. You were led here because something inside you already knew. Your spirit has been stirring. Your perception has been sharpening. Your spiritual awakening has been unfolding layer by layer. They react because they feel your light. Not because you are strange, not because you are arrogant, not because you are trying to disrupt anything. They react because light changes environments. It shifts atmospheres. It exposes what has been hidden and strengthens what has been waiting to rise. Stop shrinking to ease the discomfort of others. Stop explaining your depth to people committed to misunderstanding it. Stop dimming yourself so rooms can remain unchallenged. You were not called to blend into darkness. You were called to illuminate it. The war is real. It is subtle, but it is constant. It is the battle between fear and faith, between distraction and awareness, between staying asleep and waking up. And your light is necessary in this hour. You may not always see the impact immediately. You may not always receive applause. But presence alone carries influence. Walk into rooms without apology. Let the energy shift. Let conversations adjust. Let silence settle if it needs to. You do not have to force anything. You do not have to defend anything. Your alignment speaks long before your voice does. You are not imagining the shifts. You are not overanalyzing the tension. You are not exaggerating the reactions. Circle back to the beginning. This is a message from God. You were called before you understood the calling. You were refined before you recognized the refinement. You were chosen before you felt ready. High vibrational energy is not an accident. It is cultivated through trials, through solitude, through surrender. Every season that felt isolating was shaping your authority. Every misunderstanding was strengthening your discernment. Every closed door was redirecting your steps. Nothing was wasted. They react because they feel your light. Some will be inspired. Some will be unsettled. Some will be drawn closer. Some will step away. All of it is confirmation. When light enters a space, it does not ask permission to shine. It simply shines. Receive this fully. Stand in it. Integrate it. Walk differently from this moment forward. Not with pride, but with certainty. Not with ego, but with alignment. Not with fear, but with fire. Comment 777 if you receive this message as confirmation. Let it be a marker in your journey. Let it be a declaration that you recognize what has been happening around you. And now, one final time, anchor yourself in this truth. Your presence is not random. It is divine calling in motion. If this touched your soul, comment 11:1 because you know it. You were called,